Longfellow here, interrupting the Channel 4 Action News to bring you this Channel 4 Action News breaking story. Lead Detective Dick Snickers confirmed the execution of blood grinder suspect Murphy Durson. Durson was pronounced dead at 2:33 p.m. this afternoon. Just 8 days, 2 hours, 14 minutes, and 28 seconds after he was found guilty of 12 counts of first-degree murder. This marks the state's first execution in 148 years and the city's first death in nearly 7 hours. Durson, who vehemently denied any involvement in the blood grinder killings, was expecting DNA evidence to exonerate him of all charges tomorrow. Due to budget cutbacks in an already crowded prison system, the city could not afford to keep him alive one more day. Because of this, they had to use untrained staff and subpar medical equipment, resulting in a death so agonizing and prolonged, not even his 12 victims could fathom it. We go live to Barry Chippendale, who is live on the scene.
Hi, Bob.
Barry, where are you? We were led to believe that you were live on the scene.
Indeed I am, Bob. It was here, in this filthy supply closet not moments ago, that serial killer Murphy Durson was put to death.
Barry, do you have any insight on what the victims' families are feeling now that their family's killer has been brought to justice?
Nope.
Excellent reporting as always, Barry. We are now joined live via satellite by Mayor Abigail McDonald, who, despite this incredible news, is vacationing in the Florida Keys. Mayor, if I may say so, how honored a few of us are to have you as a guest.
Well, I wouldn't interrupt my vacation for just any anchorman, Bob.
Well, that's nice of you to say, Mayor, but the feeling isn't mutual, you corrupt scoundrel.
That's an excellent question, Bob. The demise of Mr. Durson will lead to nothing but job development and economic growth for this fine city.
Tremendous news. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The blood grinder has been ground out. We now turn back to Channel 4 Action News, where undercover reporter Stan Anderson will deliver a chilling report on the town librarians. Are your children in good hands? Are your books? Till then, I'm Bob Longfellow, bringing my action to you.
Hello and welcome to Blodcast Week 5. I'm Nick Schwartz.
And I'm Dave Conti.
And I'm Matt Bronsdorf. So here we are, week 5 of the campaign, and some of you may be wondering, what are we doing outside of the campaign to drum up interest and to get people excited and into the blood grinder? Tonight we're actually going to be meeting up with Sean Walsh from Flixus.com, and he's going to do an interview about us, learn about the project, learn about what our aspirations are with the ultimate goal, and also there may be a little discussion of Ronnie America and who he is as a person. In addition to that, some of you may have noticed earlier this week we were mentioned on the Smodcast Internet Radio, which is Kevin Smith's radio program.
Jay and Silent Bob Get Jobs was the actual show.
You can download Jay and Silent Bob Get Jobs on iTunes.
In addition to that, I'm also going to be meeting with the New Milford News Times on Tuesday morning to do an interview about us and about the project, because our ultimate goal is to shoot this short on Bank Street in New Milford, which is where the Blood Grinder opened up. The original film opened up in 2008.
So this week we watched Hot Fuzz, which is arguably the greatest film of all time. I'd say.
Arguably, yeah, the greatest film of all time.
Edgar Wright. It's the second in his proposed ice cream trilogy, starting with Shaun of the Dead. Yeah, I prefer it over Shaun of the Dead personally, because I'm a big action fan. This movie really, it plays on the genre conventions almost constantly. It really is it's a love letter to action films done by one of the masters of filmmaking, if I can be bold in saying that. But Edgar Wright is a tremendously talented filmmaker. Like the Blood Grinder, it definitely makes fun of the action conventions. It plays on them for laughs. And while we're not going to do it to the same degree in terms of referencing films and just making all these nods to specific things, we do play up the conventions like pretty constantly, I'd say.
Yeah, in a similar fashion.
Hot Fuzz also almost equally plays up the slasher genre. I guess I'll talk about that because we're making sort of an action slasher hybrid and buddy cop movie as well.
Yeah, I mean, if I may just quickly interrupt,
you may.
One thing I would say, in relation to what the Blood Grinder is, I don't know if I've said this yet in the Blodcast, but I feel like the Blood Grinder, and correct me if I'm wrong, is basically if you took a slasher film and had it star an action hero. That's what I feel the Blood Grinder kind of is at.
Yeah.
If you want to boil it down to its essence.
Similar to what we're gonna do, there's no secret who the killer is in this film. the entire time, that's half of the joke. Timothy Dalton shows up at every crime scene, making the same face.
Yeah.
All of his dialogue suggests that he's the killer.
Lock me up. I'm a slasher, and I must be stopped.
It's hysterical, and that's basically what we're going to be doing with the Blood Grinder. And in the same manner, I guess, you know, Timothy Dalton is
Very suave.
a suave,
Yeah.
facial-haired gentleman.
He's always smiling.
mustachioed.
He's always winking.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, and the absurd thing is that in the Blood Grinder, neither of our cops catch on to that. And in Hot Fuzz, 50% of them do.
Last thing that I'll mention about Hot Fuzz is, you know, it obviously plays up the genre conventions, and one thing that it plays up more than maybe any other convention is the editing style. There's been this movement in like modern action cinema that started in the 80s with movies like Top Gun and Days of Thunder, thank you Tony Scott, where the editing kind of takes over for the camera style and takes over for the choreography. It's almost as if the editing is what's creating the excitement and the energy of the movie. And for the most part, throughout the 90s, it worked pretty well. Like, people kind of found like a good mid-ground with it. But then once we got into the last 10 years or so and the fucking Bourne Supremacy came out, I love the Bourne Supremacy, but I'm sorry, Paul Greengrass, I hate you for what you've done.
Take a breath.
In the last 10 years or so, the style's become more irritating than helpful to the action movie genre, because for the most part you go to these movies and it is kind of exciting and it's fast paced and the cuts are happening so fast, but when you step back from it, you can't actually remember what occurred in any of the action scenes, because you only get like quick little like half-second shots of like, here's a punch and there's a kick and somebody falls over. So for the most part, you kind of put together what happened in the fight scene, but the movie's moving too fast that you can't keep up and it doesn't really matter. We see that as a problem, because why are you paying $12 or $13 to go to the movies when you can't see anything that you paid to see? When you go to see the Blood Runner in the long run, guess what? Every fight, you're gonna see what happened. Every car chase, you're gonna see what happened.
I do want to point out that we did do this in the first Blood Grinder when we showed Ronnie America jump over a fence as high
Yeah. That's right,
from
yeah.
1,000 different angles.
Yeah. We have a sketch for you this week. Another sketch from Chris Kelly of Detective Cliff Thompson, which is, I'd say, appropriate given the movie we watched this week. He's a large man. He's got the trench coat and the fedora. He's got all the kind of, I think, all the tropes of a, you know, noir-ish detective.
Yeah.
Good way to describe him is Bob Hoskins' character, Eddie Valiant, and Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but maybe recently sober, so he's really bitter.
Ronnie America's the type of person who commands respect with his fists, whereas Thompson will walk into a room with that kind of grizzled look on his face and the cigar in his mouth, and he just has to glare at somebody and bam, this is clearly an authority figure and I have to respect the shit out of him. For those of you who live here in the New York City area, on June 9th at a bar called the Triple Crown, which is on 7th Avenue between 28th and 29th Street, there will be a special show which we're going to be calling A Night of Grinding. As you know from watching the Blodcast, pretty much all the players that you see in the news reports and the newscasts are all students or performers from the UCB Theater, which I am also a part of. We're going to have a special hour-long, fully improvised show about the Blood Grinder. So if you're here on June 9th at 9:30, come to the Triple Crown and you'll get to check out the show. For those of you who don't live in the New York City area, after that show airs, we're going to have full coverage of it and we'll put that online so you can check it out and take part in the grinding hilarity.
Indeed. That's it. Thanks, guys. We now leave you with your moment of awesome, and I'm saying goodbye now.
Bye.
Goodbye.
See ya.
You just can't switch off, Nicholas. And until you find a person you care about more than your job, you never will. Actually, there's something I need to tell you.
You're seeing someone else.
Yes, how did you...
Is it Bob?
No. Does Bob look like the kind of person I'd go out with? It's Dave.
Hello there.